Hi, my name's Cameron. I'm 36 and I live in a small town outside Eugene, Oregon, with my 10-year-old son, Micah. At least I thought I did. You ever wake up one day and realize people have been slowly rewriting your life while you were too tired to stop them? That's what this felt like. Only worse, because it wasn't strangers. It was family. My sister-in-law, Trisha, has always been intense. I used to think it was just grief. She lost her husband, my husband's brother, in a construction accident a few years ago. And she never had kids of her own, though I know she tried for years. So when my own husband died in a car crash 18 months ago, Trisha became involved. At first, it seemed sweet. She brought over casseroles, offered to help with school pickups, even helped Micah with a science project when I was dealing with physical therapy. I had a chemical injury at work the same week my husband died. Bad timing, I know. And between the grief and the pain, I wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders. But Trisha? She stepped in like a lifeline. "You have enough on your plate," she'd say. "Let me take care of the little stuff. School things, meetings. Micah needs stability right now." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. And then little things started changing. Micah's teacher started emailing her instead of me. When I asked about it, she shrugged and said, "I gave them my contact info in case you were overwhelmed." Micah's art from school came home with her name written on the back. Submitted by Guardian, Trisha Marrow. Guardian? I tried to talk to the school. They told me that Trisha had signed some forms confirming parental authority during an emergency. I had no idea what they were talking about. I asked to see the paperwork. They said I'd need to submit a request in writing through the district office. So I did. 2 weeks later, I got a 1-paragraph email saying the records had been updated in line with current Guardian documentation. That's when it hit me. I'd been replaced. Not by a stranger. Not by Child Protective Services, but by a woman who called herself family. I asked Micah gently if he'd been told to call Trisha Mom. He blinked. She said it was just for school stuff, like to make things easier. I felt something inside me snap. I know I haven't been perfect. I lost my job after the injury. I'm working 2 under-the-table gigs just to keep our lights on. We eat frozen dinners most nights, and I haven't bought myself new clothes in over a year. But I'm his mother. I brush his teeth. I tuck him in. I hold him when he has nightmares. So why was I suddenly optional? The last straw came last Friday during a parent-teacher conference. I showed up early, trying to beat the awkwardness. The receptionist looked up and said, "Sorry, that meeting already happened. Trisha was just here." I froze. "No, I'm his mother. I scheduled this meeting 2 weeks ago." She checked her computer, confused. "Says here that Trisha's listed as the primary contact." I was erased, without warning, without even a conversation. I walked out of that school and sat in my car for 40 minutes, shaking. I didn't cry. I was too angry, too stunned, too betrayed. And I thought that was rock bottom. I thought I'd seen the worst of it. But 2 days later, I found a notification from the district website. A formal custody petition had been filed. By Trisha, claiming I was mentally unstable and unfit to raise my own son. I didn't even know she had a lawyer. But what I didn't know, what she didn't know, was that Micah had been working on something for his statewide science fair. Something about DNA and genetic relationships. Something that would air live, in front of hundreds of students, and accidentally, the truth. When I saw her name on the court documents, I thought it had to be a mistake. Petitioner, Trisha Marrow. Grounds, mental instability, financial hardship, emotional neglect. Requested action, temporary custody of minor, Micah J. Marrow. I read it 5 times. I don't know what hurt more. The lies or the fact that she believed she could actually pull this off. Micah was watching cartoons in the living room, completely unaware. I sat on the floor of the kitchen and stared at the page like it might catch fire if I looked hard enough. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I didn't even have a printer at home. I had to use the library just to download the documents. I called Trisha. Straight to voicemail. Then I tried to call her again. And again. Finally, she texted. Cam, I'm sorry you're upset. This isn't about you. It's about Micah's stability. Stability. The same word the school used when they erased me from his emergency contacts. The same word Trisha used when she took over his after-school schedule. The same damn word people throw around when they don't want to admit they're stealing your life because they think they can do it better. I started gathering everything I had. School records, doctor visits, rent receipts, even text threads where Trisha offered to help with pickups and signed her name with little heart emojis. I didn't know if any of it would matter. I just knew I couldn't let her do this. And through it all, Micah was quiet. Too quiet. That weekend, he barely touched his grilled cheese. He kept asking if he had to go to Trisha's next week. I told him we'd talk about it later, and he nodded but didn't push. That's how I knew something was wrong. Sunday night, I was cleaning up when I saw him sitting on the floor with a pile of folders and notebook paper. His science project. Need help? I asked. He shook his head, then hesitated. It's about genetics, he said, not looking up. I smiled. That's cool. He finally looked at me and said, it's about how you know someone's your real family. Not just what they say, but proof. I didn't get it. Not fully. Not then. But I nodded anyway. That's a pretty deep topic for a 10-year-old. He shrugged. I just wanted to know for sure. And then he handed me a sheet of paper. It was a lab result. DNA parental match. Cameron Marrow, 99.98% maternal relationship to minor, Micah Marrow. I blinked. Micah, where did you get this? I sent it in. He said, remember when I asked for your old hairbrush a few weeks ago? I had. He said it was for a project. I hadn't thought twice about it. I didn't mean to do something bad, he added quickly, but Trisha told the principal she was my biological parent, and I didn't know what to think anymore. So I just checked. My knees went weak. This little boy, my little boy, had been carrying doubt in his heart because someone told the world a lie big enough to shake his whole foundation. And I hadn't even seen it happening. He reached into his folder and pulled out another form, an official letter from the Science Fair Board. They said they're picking 5 student projects to be presented live during the state finals next month, he said. Mine got picked. I sat there, stunned. Micah, are you saying you're going to present our DNA test? On stage? He nodded. I already submitted the slides. They asked for a photo of you and me too, for the family part. I should have stopped him. I should have said no. But all I could do was hug him so tightly I think I scared him. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Micah had been fighting a war I didn't even know we were in, and the world was about to watch him drop a bomb in the middle of it. The day of the science fair felt like walking into a fire with my hands tied behind my back. The event was being held at a local university. Hundreds of kids from across the state packed into a giant gymnasium. Banners, booths, folding tables, and nervous parents everywhere. I saw one mom gluing last-minute solar panels onto her kid's cardboard display. Another dad rehearsed a script with his daughter like she was about to deliver a TED Talk. Me? I was just trying not to throw up. Micah's project was set up near the middle. Poster board, bar graphs, big bold letters that read, Genetic fact versus emotional bond. What makes family real? I couldn't take my eyes off that title. It felt like a challenge. Or a warning. Trisha showed up 10 minutes before his presentation, dressed like she was attending a damn press conference. Blazer, heels, hair perfectly done. She spotted us and smiled like nothing had happened. Hey, you two, she said brightly, reaching to touch Micah's shoulder. He flinched. Subtle, but I saw it. She didn't. You must be so excited, sweetie, she added, then turned to me. I brought Micah's paperwork in case they need it for the award forms. She handed me a manila folder. I opened it. Inside, a copy of Micah's birth certificate, with her name written in under Mother, sloppily, in pen. I stared at it. You forged this? She didn't blink. It's just a placeholder until the hearing. They said it was fine. No, I snapped. They said you said it was fine. Micah looked up at us both, wide-eyed. Can we not fight right now? I closed the folder. I wanted to scream, to tell everyone within earshot what she'd done. But I knew what that would look like. An unstable mom causing drama at her kid's big event. That's exactly the picture she'd painted in court. So I nodded, sat back, stayed quiet. They called his name. Micah stepped on stage, holding his clicker like it was a shield. Hi, I'm Micah, he said into the mic. My project is about how we know who our real family is. Sometimes people say they're your family, but sometimes you have to prove it. Click. A diagram appeared on the screen. DNA strands. Basic stuff. Then another slide. 2 columns. One labeled emotional claims, the other biological evidence. Click. Photos of us. Me brushing his hair, making pancakes, hugging him at a soccer game. Click. People think being a parent means showing up to games or bringing you to school, he said, but I think it's also about truth. Click. The final slide. A scanned DNA test. His name, my name, 99.98% maternal match. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Teachers exchanged looks. Someone near the back whispered, "Is this real?" And then, like something out of a movie, Micah turned to the crowd and said, "This is my mom. Not someone who says it. Not someone who signs fake forms. My real mom." I watched Trisha go pale. She stood there frozen, her mouth open like she wanted to respond, but there was nothing to say. People started clapping. I didn't. I was still trying to breathe. Micah left the stage and walked straight to me, wrapped his arms around my waist. I didn't know if it would work, he whispered, but I wanted everyone to know. And in that moment, I didn't care who was watching. I got down on my knees and held him like I'd never let go again. I found out later that Trisha left the venue immediately. Some other parent overheard her on the phone yelling at her lawyer. The school called me the next morning, apologizing, saying they were revisiting protocol. Her name was removed from all records within 48 hours. The custody petition was thrown out 2 weeks later, without a hearing. But none of that undid what she did to us. Micah had spent months wondering if he'd be taken away. He carried that fear like a weight in his backpack. I only saw the surface. And I guess what hits me hardest is this. She didn't just lie to the court. She lied to my child. She stole the one thing a kid should never have to question: who loves them and who they really belong to. If you've ever had someone try to rewrite your story, if you've been made to feel invisible in your own child's life, just know, you're not alone. I didn't think I'd survive this, but I did, because truth matters, and sometimes it takes the smallest voice in the room to speak it out loud. People keep asking me how I didn't lose it, how I sat through meetings where the school handed my son's records to Trisha, how I didn't scream when I saw her name typed next to legal guardian, how I stayed calm when she showed up at Micah's science fair acting like she deserved to be there. And the truth is, I almost did lose it. But rage doesn't get you custody. Rage doesn't get you credibility. Rage just makes you look exactly how they want you to look. Unstable, emotional, unfit. So I swallowed it. For weeks. Until I realized maybe letting her think she was winning was the best thing I could do. The week after the science fair, I requested a meeting with the school principal. No lawyers, no accusations. Just me, alone, holding a binder full of receipts, emails, and voice recordings, all neatly labeled, tabbed, and dated. She walked in all confident, of course, sat across from me like we were about to co-sign a mortgage. Before she could even speak, I slid a printed copy of a transcript across the table. It was from a voicemail she'd left Micah's pediatrician. "Hi, this is Trisha Marrow. Micah's legal guardian. We're switching his insurance to my private provider. His mom's currently unavailable. The principal froze. I opened my binder to the page where Trisha had signed a school form listing herself as primary guardian by maternal consent. Then I slid forward my own notarized affidavit, dated weeks earlier, explicitly revoking any third-party access to Micah's records. The principal cleared her throat. Ms. Marrow, I don't think we were aware of— You weren't, I said, because she didn't tell you. She forged it. That was the beginning. Next, I called in a favor from an old friend. I used to work in a local lab before the injury, and one of the senior techs owed me for covering shifts back when his wife had cancer. I told him I needed help tracking some unusual legal notary activity. He got me a name. A woman in Salem who'd signed off on 5 different documents for Trisha over the past 3 months, most of them related to medical and school consent. Here's the kicker. That notary had been dead for 6 months. The signatures? Scanned from a past form and photoshopped. I nearly laughed when I saw it. Not because it was funny. Because it was sloppy. Because for all her talk about Micah's best interest, Trisha had committed felony-level fraud just to steal my son's identity and insert herself into a role that was never hers. The next day, I submitted everything. To the school board, to the district office, and, quietly, to a family law investigator through a nonprofit that supports parents navigating custody manipulation. I didn't tell Trisha. I didn't tell anyone. I just waited. Last Tuesday, she texted me out of the blue. We should talk. Things are shifting, and I'd rather settle this outside of court. Something about that message. It was too confident. Like she knew something I didn't. So I called the investigator. She sounded confused. Actually, she said slowly, we were just notified of a new filing on your case. I frowned. From me? Number? From the petitioner. What petitioner? There was a pause. Then she said it. Trisha has officially filed for full adoption rights. She submitted a claim that Micah was abandoned by his biological mother and has no known living parental guardian. I swear to God, my vision went black for half a second. She didn't just want to erase me. She wanted to replace me. Legally. Permanently. She was about to walk into court and tell a judge that I was either dead or gone, and claim my child as her own. I know some people won't believe this. They'll say no one could possibly go that far, that it sounds made up. But it happened. And if I hadn't been documenting everything, if I hadn't built a quiet case in the background while she was playing mother in public, I might have lost Micah forever. So yeah, I let her think she was winning. But I had something she didn't. The truth. And I was about to hand it to the judge, piece by piece, lie by lie. Because now, it was my turn. Court was scheduled for 10 a.m. I arrived at 9:05, alone. No lawyer, just a folder packed so tight it barely closed. Copies, recordings, even notarized statements. Months of quiet work. Trisha walked in 10 minutes later like she was stepping onto a talk show. Pearl earrings, camel coat, calm, smug face. She didn't even look at me. But her eyes flicked just once to the investigator sitting near the clerk's bench. She didn't recognize her. I did. That woman had spent the last month combing through every claim Trisha made. Every form. Every fake signature. Every call she made posing as me. The judge entered right on time. Gray hair, tired eyes, voice that didn't need to yell to command silence. Trisha's attorney stood up, all smooth talk and half smiles. Your Honor, we are petitioning for a full adoption under the grounds of consistent care, emotional bonding, and the absence of the biological parent. The judge raised one brow. You're referring to the mother seated 10 feet from you? The room shifted. Her lawyer stumbled. Well, yes, but we contend that due to lack of fitness and prolonged instability. The judge held up a hand. Sit down. Then he turned to me. Ms. Marrow, do you have anything to submit before we begin? I nodded. Walked forward. My knees were steady. My hands were not. I handed over the binder. Everything's labeled, Your Honor. He opened it, flipped once, twice, then stopped. This is a letter from the child's school principal confirming the petitioner misrepresented her authority and forged documentation to obtain student records. He flipped again. A sworn affidavit from a notary confirming the signatures used were copied posthumously, after her passing. And again. An audio file in which the petitioner impersonates the biological mother to change a minor's insurance plan. By now, Trisha wasn't blinking. Her face had gone tight, like someone trying to hold back a scream they can't afford to let slip. The judge closed the binder, folded his hands. Ms. Marrow, do you wish to proceed with charges? I looked at Trisha, and I swear for a second, I saw the tiniest crack in her face. Fear. Real, naked fear. I turned back to the judge. No, Your Honor, I'm not here for revenge. I just want it on record. Who I am, and who I'll always be. His mother. He nodded, then leaned back in his chair and said something I'll never forget. In all my years, I've never seen a case so quietly and thoroughly dismantled by the very person it tried to erase. He ruled in my favor. Full legal and physical custody. Trisha was barred from all contact. The court referred her for investigation under forgery and custodial interference statutes. No cuffs, no screaming, just silence as she walked out. Alone. That night, Micah and I made spaghetti. Nothing fancy. Just us. He sat on the counter while I stirred sauce, kicking his feet and humming. At one point, he looked up and asked, "So, it's over?" I didn't answer right away. I just looked at him. This kid who had held on when even I felt like letting go. And nodded. Yeah, baby, it's over. And that night, for the first time in over a year, I slept without checking my phone, without waking up in a panic, without wondering what she'd do next. She wanted to be the hero of a story that wasn't hers. But the truth? The truth writes its own ending. Bai hok toi root ra? Sometimes staying calm isn't weakness. It's the strategy they never see coming. If you've been through something like this, or even if you've just felt invisible when you should have mattered, feel free to share your story below. I read every comment. You're not alone. And if stories like this speak to you, I hope you'll stick around. There's more where this came from. But for now, I'm just going to go hold my son.